Hello everyone, it's Jordan from AutoAid here. Today we're going to be looking at a 2005 Dodge Magnum. According to the customer, the vehicle cuts out for a split second when you're cruising down the road. I did drive this vehicle previously, and that is exactly what it feels like. For just a split second, it feels like everything cuts out intermittently, comes right back within half a second. So I think what we're going to do first is scan the vehicle for codes, see if there's anything relevant that can point us in some sort of direction to go with this thing. We're going to be using the YTEC 2 again for this vehicle, Chrysler's factory scan tool. I'm just going to get logged in here. We can see it's identified the vehicle. It looks like there are 6 DTCs. Hopefully one of them points us towards something. Looking at the topology, it doesn't really look like there's going to be much to go on here in regards to codes. We'll just check and see anyways here. Yeah, it doesn't really look like there's too much related to our issue. In fact, there's nothing related to our issue. These headlight codes are just there because he's got HIDs installed in this vehicle. Nothing else really points us towards anything. So we're gonna have to try and think of something else to do with this vehicle. Try and think of a different plan of attack. So I think what we're gonna do next is take the scope and hook up to the vehicle and see exactly what we're losing. See whether we're losing injectors or spark, or if the ECM is going offline intermittently for a split second. We're gonna have to figure out exactly what's causing this engine to cut out like that. So we're going to be using our Pico scope here to monitor injector and coil current. We're going to use our 2 current probes to measure that. At the same time, I'm going to hook 2 probes up to the cam and crank sensors. It's kind of important to monitor when you think you're losing something like coil or injector, because that's pretty much how the vehicle figures out when to fire the coils and injectors. So 2 very important things to monitor. So I'm going to go and get this stuff hooked up here, and then we'll take it for a road test and see if we're losing anything. All right, now that we've got everything set up here, I'll just kind of give you a walkthrough of what I did. We got the 1 current clamp hooked up to the number 2 coil, the Pico current clamp hooked up to the number 2 injector. Now the ECM's kind of in a bad spot on these. It's not the worst I've seen, but it's not great either. Those 2 probes are on our cam and crank right at the ECM. The good thing about doing it right at the ECM is if there's any issues in the harness, you'll be able to catch it if you monitor it right at the ECM. If you monitor it right at the cam and crank sensor, one, you gotta go digging for it, and that's nobody wants to do that. And you may potentially miss something if there's an issue somewhere in the wiring. So it's always good to get it right at the ECM. I've kind of got everything just strung through my window there. Got everything just sitting on the passenger seat. Gonna set this thing to record, take it for a drive, and see if we can catch it acting up. All right, so now that we've got everything hooked up, just gonna open up the Pico software. Get it all set up here. All right, so channels A and B are the cam and crank sensors, so we're just gonna put them on a 10-volt scale. Channel C is our coil current. I believe we have it set up for 100 millivolts is 1 amp, so we will set it at, let's go with 2 volts to be safe. And channel D is the injector current. Now we have the Pico current clamp on there, so they actually have it set up as a preset in here, the 60 amp current clamp, and we are on 20 amp mode. And they generally run an amp or 2, so just to be safe, we'll do -5 to 10 amp scale. We can always zoom in and take a look. I'm just going to widen up our time base here as well. Do about a second per division, and fire it up and see what happens. All right, looks like we got everything here. So now all we got to do is take it for a road test and get this thing to act up. All right, so after about 30 minutes driving, we were finally able to get the vehicle to act up. So right here, we're looking at coil and injector current, as well as the cam and crank sensor. The reason it looks like this, I just have a really long time base. We're just going to zoom in on the problem. Right here, we can see that the coils and the injector both stop firing for a split second there. The injector current pattern looks kind of funky because they sit, the way the current probe was sitting there right on top of the spark plug wires and coils. So it did pick up a little bit of interference, but you can see that it is missing a couple of events. So we're just going to go over to our coil and injector current and voltage, just to take a look and see if we're losing power or if it's a computer side issue where the computer isn't firing the coils or injectors, because that'll kind of tell us which direction we got to go. All right. Get rid of some of this stuff here. All right, so we still have our coil and injector current here, and you can see it's actually really messed up here. It was bucking like crazy going down the highway right here. So blue, we have the coil voltage, and just gonna try and get it so it's easy to read here. So when the coil stops firing, you can see it maintains 12 volts. We know we don't have a power issue. We have a computer control issue for the coils. Just gonna make sure that's, I suspect it's gonna be the same for the injectors. And yeah, you kind of get the same thing here. We're sitting at battery voltage. And when the injectors stop firing, you can see it stops. Here it's pulling the ground and firing the injectors, but where the injectors are missing here, it's not firing. So we have a computer control issue. So I'm just gonna go back to our other screenshot here that has the cam and crank. We're just gonna inspect the cam and crank signal to make sure that there's nothing wrong there. Now this is kind of hard to see, but I'll show you what I can see here already. So I'm just going to scroll down there, and you can see the crank sensor. After that one pack there, it goes low. You have the pack of pulses there, goes high, low, high, low. So now we go over to our problem area, which is right here. Low, high, low, 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 high. So we have a discrepancy there in our crank signal. I'm just going to take another look at another example here. Yeah, right here you can see another discrepancy in the crank signal. You can see they're all even here. Right before it gets to the end of that pack there, you can see there's a pulse that shouldn't be there and a really wide one there. So it kind of looks like we got a bad crank sensor in this thing causing all these issues. I'm just going to see if I can find a different one just to kind of drive the point home here. Yeah, it was really bad here. Yeah, I can see it already without even zooming all the way in. Yeah, right there. There's another one right there. So looks like the issue with this one is a bad crank sensor.